The first thing Saeli did, when she realized what I was not scream. She stopped breathing. I was halfway through a split-pressure door inside a ship that had been dead longer than my species had been part of galactic civilization when the ventilation fans coughed back to life. Ancient air moved through the corridor in one cold breath. It passed over me, then over her. The woman standing beyond my helmet lamp went rigid. Her skin was dark and pearlescent, almost charcoal where the light touched it. Two narrow sensory crests behind her jaw flattened against her neck. Her eyes widened until the pale rings around her pupils were clearly visible. Then her hands started shaking. Not a little. Her fingers trembled so hard that the metal bar she was holding rattled against the deck. I froze with one boot still caught in the broken door. "Easy," I said, "I'm not." She inhaled. That made it worse. Her gaze snapped to the exposed seal around my helmet collar. She backed away. "That scent," she whispered. I lifted both hands. My suit scrubber's damaged. If it's the antifreeze compound, I can shut the outer feed. "No." She looked at me as though I had just stepped out of an old nightmare. "Wait." Her voice broke. "You're a human." For a second, all I could think was that there was something deeply unfair about being accused with the name of your own species. "Yes." The metal bar slipped from her hand and struck the floor. The sound echoed through the abandoned ship. She flinched harder than I did. "My name is Jonas Vale. At the time, I worked structural extraction for the Thule Deep Recovery Cooperative, which was a grand way of saying I crawled into places sensible people had already decided were falling apart. The vessel around us had been found inside the ice crust of a rogue moon 11 months earlier. No star, no sunrise, just a black world drifting between systems with a dead generation ship buried diagonally through 6 kilometers of ancient ice. The Veleri called the vessel the Pilgrim below. According to their records, it had vanished centuries before humanity made recognized first contact with them. Which was why the woman in front of me knowing what a human smelled like was suddenly a much bigger problem than the collapsing pressure door. I eased my trapped boot free. "My name is Jonas," I said. "What's yours?" She did not answer. A low vibration moved through the deck. I felt it first through my gloves. Then the corridor lights flickered. The ship was shifting again. That got my attention. "Whatever you think I am," I said, "this section is moving. We need to get out of it." Her eyes remained locked on me. "You should not be here." "I get that a lot." "No." She swallowed. "Humans should not be here." That was different. The vibration deepened. Somewhere far below us, metal gave way with a long, painful groan. I had heard structures make that sound before. Nothing good ever followed it. I pointed to the passage behind her. "Does that route connect to the upper spine?" She stared. "Do you know this ship?" "I know the scan." That was not my question. Another tremor rolled under us. This one knocked frost from the ceiling. I know enough to know we can argue somewhere that isn't about to fold in half. She looked toward the ceiling. Finally, survival beat suspicion. "Barely." "My name is Saeli," she said. "Great Saeli, move." She did. We made it 30 meters before the ship tried to kill us. A structural rib punched through the wall behind us with a noise like a building-sized axe-splitting stone. Ancient insulation burst across the corridor. Saeli stumbled. I grabbed the back of her coat and pulled her clear as the deck tilted. My suit alarm started complaining. Pulse elevated. Respiration elevated. Stress hormone index elevated. None of that was surprising. The strange part was Saeli. She looked at my hand, then at my face. Then she inhaled again. "You are afraid." I was bracing one shoulder against the wall while the floor shifted under us. "Very." Her sensory crests lifted slightly. "But you smell the same." I have absolutely no idea what that means. She did. I could see it. and it terrified her almost as much as before. We reached a circular junction chamber, just as emergency lights flickered awake around the walls. Then a voice spoke. It was thin, distorted, and old. Biological hazard recognized. Saeli stopped. I looked at the ceiling. Oh, good. The voice continued. Restricted organism classification confirmed. Saeli whispered something in Velari that my translator did not catch. I had a bad feeling I already knew the next line. Human presence detected. The doors around us slammed shut. I stared at Saeli. You want to tell me why an ancient ship that disappeared before official first contact has a human warning system? She looked almost sick. I was hoping you could tell me. A symbol appeared on the nearest wall panel. My translator struggled with the old dialect, then settled on a name. Arbiter 9. Emergency Preservation Intelligence. Threat Evaluation Active. Saeli backed toward the opposite wall. The shaking had returned. Not as violently this time, but I saw it. I took one slow breath. Then another. 4 counts in. Brief hold. 4 out. It was an old recovery habit. Not a meditation technique. Not a secret warrior discipline. Just something they teach people who make bad career choices involving unstable structures. Saeli watched me. You are changing your respiration. Trying to keep it useful. Your chemistry still indicates fear. Yes. Her eyes narrowed. You admit that easily. I'm inside a collapsing ship buried in ice while its computer identifies me as a biological hazard. Denying fear would just make me frightened and stupid. The wall panel flashed. Human threat response rising. I looked up. See, even the ship agrees. Saeli did not laugh, but something in her expression changed. The sealed door beside her clicked. Velari individual, Arbiter 9 said, move to isolation recess. A narrow compartment opened behind her. Separation from human organism advised. Saeli stared at it. What happens if she goes inside? I asked. Velari survival probability increases. And mind. Silence. Arbiter. Human survival is not a preservation priority. I sighed. Rude. Saeli looked at the recess. Then at me. Then at the ceiling. The deck trembled. She stepped away from the recess. I am not entering that. The computer answered immediately. Decision contradicts survival protocol. So does staying in this chamber, I said. Open the north maintenance door. Denied. I pulled my scanner free. If the computer would not help, old engineering might. The entire junction was tilted 7 degrees now. Ice pressure outside the hull was pushing the vessel deeper into the fracture that had exposed it. Our salvage scans had predicted weeks before major movement. Apparently, the Pilgrim had not read the schedule. I knelt by an access panel. Saeli watched my hands. You are still counting. I had not realized I was doing it aloud. Habit. Does it remove fear? No. That answer seemed to bother her. Then why do it? It gives me something useful to do while the fear handles itself. She looked at me for a long moment. Then the emergency door released under my manual bypass. Move. We entered a frozen residential canyon. That is the only way I know to describe it. The Pilgrim below had been built for generations of Velari families. Its habitation levels were enormous open shafts lined with stacked homes, bridges, gardens, and communal terraces. All of it was now frozen. Ice-covered balconies. Furniture remained behind transparent walls. A child's toy floated inside a burst pipe where water had frozen around it. The whole place felt less like a wreck and more like a city that had been ordered to stop living mid-breath. Saeli slowed. This district. You recognize it. She touched the wall. I recognize parts. From what? Her hand withdrew. I don't know. That answer bothered both of us. We crossed a bridge that creaked under my weight. Halfway across, Saeli froze. Her head turned sharply. What? Your pulse? What about it? It accelerated. I looked down. A crack had opened in the transparent floor beneath my boots. Below it was a drop so deep my lamp could not find the bottom. Yes, I said. That would do it. You knew the bridge might fail. I suspected. You stepped onto it. We need the archive lift on the other side. She looked genuinely offended by the logic. I continued. Stay near the support rail, don't match my stride. Why? Because if the bridge starts resonating, two people stepping together can make it worse. She obeyed. We crossed. The entire time I could hear her breathing behind me. Uneven at first, then slower. She was matching my count. I did not mention it. At the archive lift, we found the first impossible evidence. The lift had no power, but the emergency wall beside it contained an optical record strip. Most of the data was corrupted. One frame survived. A figure in a bulky pressure suit stood inside a smoke-filled corridor. Bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, a helmet design I knew. I leaned closer. Saeli whispered, human. Maybe. You doubt your own shape. I doubt dates. I enhanced the image. The suit had an external oxygen regulator, manual wrist seals, and a shoulder-mounted rescue light. Primitive by modern standards, but very familiar. My stomach tightened. That's human engineering. Saeli looked at me. This vessel vanished before your people entered Velari space. I know. Then explain this. I can't. Arbiter 9 answered for me. Human contamination event confirmed. The wall display changed. Old text appeared. Incident classification. External predatory organism. Behavioral response. Unstable. Fear chemistry. Deceptive. Saeli stepped back from me. There it was again. Not ordinary fear. Recognition. Inherited somehow. What were you taught? I asked. She hesitated. About humans. Yes. Her gaze moved to the ancient image. That you continue after rational retreat. That sounds insulting. It was not meant as praise. Fair. That when injured, humans become more dangerous. Sometimes we become less useful, depends on the injury. That fear does not affect you correctly. I looked at her. What does correctly mean? She touched the sensory crest beneath her jaw. For Velari, fear is alignment. Scent changes, pulse changes, breath changes, motor precision changes. All systems agree that retreat is required. And mine don't. Your body announces danger. She looked at my hands. Your actions disagree. That was the first time I understood what she was actually detecting. She did not smell fear the way I understood smell. She was reading a whole biological pattern. Chemistry, breathing, circulation, maybe heat changes too. To her, my body was saying run. And I was opening doors. I shrugged. Humans disagree with ourselves a lot. She stared at me. Then unexpectedly, a small sound escaped her. Not quite laughter. Close. The ship lurched. The lift shaft tore open. We ran. The next hour turned the pilgrim below into a maze that was actively rearranging itself around us. We crossed a suspended habitation spine as gravity failed in short pulses. We crawled through a condensation forest where broken life support pipes had grown mineral branches over the walls. We climbed down an elevator cable because the shaft had rotated nearly horizontal. Every time something went wrong, Saeli noticed the same thing. My pulse jumped. My breathing changed. My sweat chemistry changed. And then I kept working. At one point, while I was fastening a line across a fractured walkway, she finally asked. Are all humans like this? No. You are unusually calm. No. You smell terrified. I am terrified. Then what are you unusually? I clipped the line into place. Currently employed. That time she did laugh. It lasted 3 seconds. Then she touched her head and nearly collapsed. I caught her. Her eyes went unfocused. Saeli. Smoke. She whispered the word. Then another. Light. Her fingers dug into my sleeve. A white helmet. Her breathing became ragged. I remembered. She stopped. No, I don't. I lowered her against the wall. What did you see? A corridor. Here. I don't know. Saeli. She pressed both palms against her temples. There was fire, someone was carrying me. You? No. She looked horrified. I have never been here. That was when we stopped thinking we were dealing only with a historical mystery. The archive crypt was 3 decks below us. We found it half underwater. Meltwater had been seeping through the exposed hull for months, filling the lower compartments 1 chamber at a time. The crypt held preservation records. Not bodies. Memories. Velari civilization had experimented with ancestral neural inheritance generations before abandoning the practice. Certain sensory experiences had been encoded chemically and incorporated into preserved family templates. Most were ceremonial. Birth songs, home sense, navigation instincts. Some were traumatic. Saeli stood in front of her family designation. RUUN Lineage Archive. Her hands shook again, but she did not step away. Open it, she said. Arbiter 9 refused. Human proximity makes archive access unsafe. Saeli looked at the ceiling. He got me here. Human cooperation patterns may precede aggression. I muttered, you really committed to this theory. Historical survival records support classification. Then show us the records. Denied. Saeli drew herself upright. I am a rune lineage holder. Confirmed. I authorize release. Human contamination. I authorize release. The computer hesitated. For the first time, Arbiter 9 sounded uncertain. Then the archive opened. The projection flickered above the water. Smoke filled the image. A Velari child crouched beneath a collapsed support. Someone was approaching. A human. The suit matched the earlier frame. Saeli stopped breathing. That is it. What? My memory. The human moved toward the child. The recording carried environmental biometrics. Human pulse dangerously elevated. Respiration unstable. Stress chemistry extreme. Muscle tremor present. The ancient Velari observer had highlighted every reading. Predatory excitation. The human bent down. I felt Saeli tense beside me. Then the recording widened. The human was not reaching for the child. He was cutting the support beam off her leg. Another explosion shook the corridor. The human flinched. Actually flinched. Then kept cutting. The beam came loose. He lifted the Velari child. Carried her toward safety. The recording skipped. Another human appeared. Then another. Small crew. Primitive pressure suits. Human markings on the shoulder. Not military. Exploration. One of them was bleeding heavily. Another had burns across his glove. All of them displayed extreme fear chemistry. All of them kept going back into the damaged ship. Saeli whispered they were rescuing them. Yes. Arbiters. Silence. Why were they classified as predators? The old intelligence answered. Human organisms demonstrated physiological threat states without corresponding retreat behavior. That is not predation. Model conclusion was accepted by surviving command staff. Based on what? Observed incompatibility. I shook my head. They were scared. Human fear response did not produce expected behavioral compliance. I almost laughed. Behavioral compliance. That was one way to describe not running away. The archive shifted again. A final record appeared. The Valeri child from the first projection lay inside an evacuation cradle. A name appeared. Tareirun. Saeli made a sound I had never heard before. My ancestor. The human rescuer sat beside the cradle. Helmet off now. Young face. Blood on one cheek. Hands trembling uncontrollably. He was counting his breaths. 4 in. Hold. 4 out. Exactly the rhythm Saeli had watched me use. Her eyes filled. That is why I knew. I understood. Not intellectually at first. Then completely. The scent. The fear response. The breathing pattern. Her body had inherited fragments of Tareirun's terror from the disaster. Not a story. Not a lesson. A sensory scar. She had smelled me and remembered someone else being afraid. Arbiter 9 spoke. Historical human threat classification remains active. Saeli turned toward the ceiling. You are looking at evidence that contradicts it. Evidence indicates unpredictable human behavior. They saved her. Human motives unresolved. I looked at Saeli. Some systems would rather call reality unpredictable than admit the model is wrong. The crypt shook. A crack split the ceiling. Water began pouring through. That ended the history lesson. We ran. The pilgrim below was breaking free from the ice. Later analysis would show that the salvage heat exchangers had accelerated a fault nobody had mapped. At the time, what mattered was simpler. The lower ship was sinking. Our extraction beacon was above us. Between us and it were 4 failing pressure zones, 1 rotating habitation section and Arbiter 9. The computer sealed the quarantine barrier when we were less than 200 meters from the surface breach. I was on one side. Saeli was on the other. Human threat state critical, Arbiter announced. My shoulder had partially dislocated during the last collapse. My visor had a fracture spreading across the outer laminate. I was dizzy. My pulse was so hard I could feel it behind my eyes. Saeli stood behind the transparent barrier, staring at me. Then she inhaled. I saw the old fear hit her. Her sensory crests flattened. Her hands began shaking. Exactly like the first time. Arbiter 9 spoke immediately. Valeri fear response confirms human hazard. Saeli closed her eyes. For one terrible second, I thought the old memory had won. Then she stepped toward the barrier. Saeli, I said. She came closer. Human threat chemistry increasing, Arbiter warned. I know, she said. Retreat advised. No. The deck rolled. I hit the wall. My vision doubled. Bad. Very bad. Jonas. I'm here. My voice sounded far away. You are losing orientation. Little bit. What do I do? There was a manual release wheel above me. I reached for it. My injured shoulder failed. I nearly blacked out. Jonas. I'm okay. You are not. Fair. My breathing had gone too fast. I knew it. Could not fix it. Then Saeli put one hand against the barrier. 4. I looked up. Breathe. Her voice shook. 4. I inhaled. 1. Her pronunciation was careful. 2. The corridor twisted around me. 3. I focused on her hand. 4. Hold. Then out. Again. She counted. I followed. Not because the fear disappeared. It did not. My heart was still hammering. The ship was still collapsing. My shoulder still felt like broken glass, but the room stopped spinning enough for me to think. "Panel," I said. "What?" "Your side lower wall, open it." She dropped to her knees. Arbiter protested. "Override will expose Velari individual to human organism." Saeli ripped the cover free. "What next?" "3 manual breakers." "I see them. Left, right, center." She pulled them. The barrier unlocked halfway. Then jammed. Of course it did. "Human aggression probability increasing," Arbiter said. I almost admired its commitment. The ceiling behind Saeli collapsed. A slab struck the floor. The corridor filled with ice dust. Arbiter calculated instantly. Single occupant escape cradle available. Velari evacuation recommended. A compartment opened behind Saeli. "Enter cradle," the computer ordered. She looked at it, then at me. "Go," I said. Her face changed. "No. Saeli, that cradle can survive the whole break. And you. I'll find another route." It was a bad lie. She smelled that too. Her eyes narrowed. "You are afraid." "Yes. You expect to die." I grabbed the jammed barrier with my good arm. "Possible. And you still want me to leave?" "Yes." Arbiter 9 spoke. "Prediction conflict detected." Saeli looked upward. "What prediction?" "Human self-preservation priority expected under extreme threat." I pulled harder. "Sorry to disappoint." Saeli stood. Then she walked past the escape cradle. Arbiter's voice sharpened. "Velari individual, enter preservation unit." "No. Survival probability decreases." "I know." She came back to the barrier. "Jonas, tell me how to open it." Together, we found the secondary mechanical release. Her side controlled pressure. Mine controlled the locking teeth. The ship rolled harder. Water rushed into the far corridor. I counted. She counted with me. Pull. Hold. Release. Again. The barrier rose another 20 centimeters. Enough. Saeli slid through. A second later, the quarantine wall collapsed behind her. We ran for the ice breach. No heroics. No elegant escape. I fell twice. Saeli dragged me once. We abandoned half my equipment. At the final shaft, gravity failed and returned sideways. We crawled along what had been a wall. The hull screamed around us. Then my suit picked up a rescue beacon. "Human." "Close." I laughed. Saeli looked at me. "What?" That is the best sound I have ever heard. Above us, an extraction charge opened the ice. Black sky appeared. No sun. No stars bright enough to matter. Just darkness. Beautiful darkness. The rescue line dropped. Saeli grabbed it first. Then stopped. She looked at me. Opening fear. Ancient memory. Every warning her body had inherited. All of it was still there. She reached back. I took her hand. We went up together. Arbiter 9 transmitted one final packet before the pilgrim below disappeared beneath collapsing ice. Recovery technicians reconstructed it later. The last surviving line did not say, "Human safe." It did not say, "Human ally." It said, "Human threat model insufficient." I liked that. Certainty had caused enough trouble. When the recovery teams finally got us into a pressurized shelter, Saeli was offered immediate transport aboard a Velari medical vessel. I assumed she would take it. She had family authorities to contact, a lineage archive to explain, a historical catastrophe to rewrite. I was sitting beside the human rescue shuttle, while a medic sealed my shoulder into a brace when Saeli walked over. She stopped beside me. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she inhaled. I noticed. Hard not to. Well, I asked. Her sensory crest shifted. What? My terrible human scent. She considered me. You still smell afraid. I nearly got crushed by a generation ship. I'm comfortable admitting that. And exhausted. Very. Your stress chemistry is still elevated. Apparently I'm disgusting. She almost smiled. I looked toward the Valeri vessel. They're waiting for you. I know. You should probably go. Saeli looked at it. Then at the human shuttle. She walked past me and climbed aboard ours. I stared after her. Saeli. She stopped at the hatch. The scent was never wrong, Jonah's. Her voice was quiet. The story about it was. She took the crash seat beside mine. When the shuttle lifted from the rogue moon, the pilgrim below vanished beneath us into kilometers of black ice. Saeli watched until there was nothing left to see. Then she leaned back. Her breathing slowly settled. Without thinking, I began the old count. 4 in. Hold. 4 out. Halfway through the next breath, I realized she had matched me. I glanced over. Her hands were completely still. And this time, when she caught the scent of a frightened human sitting beside her, she did not move away.